I know we've missed a episode or two probably of Pub Talk, but we are back and we are with a fan favorite here, Alan McCann, for this month's episode of Pub Talk, brought to you by Jack Quinn's. So first things first, Alan McCann, Solancha.
Solancha, to your health.
Thank you for joining me. I mean, you and the coaches were the first ones when we didn't really have Pub Talk, but we came here and chatted a little over a year ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago now. Obviously, your role's kind of changed recently. How are things going so far, in your opinion, and how are you liking the new transition and all of that?
Yeah, from a role standpoint, it's more responsibility. It's more hands-on, but you know, the year in itself has been frustrating. But if you look back on it from now, what are we now, September? You look back and it's a rebuilding year, realistically. Hoagie had the foresight to tell us that from the start, and you know, more and more it went on. You could see it's tough to replace the group that we had last year, but also we have good players in the building this year. So it's still been enjoyable to work with, but everyone in the building is frustrated, you know. But yeah, it's now it's go time. So there's still. This team literally can surprise you on any single day, and it can surprise any team. The talent's in the building, so it's our job now with 5 to go. Touch wood, then playoffs. We can still do something.
Well, so we'll get back more into the switchback stuff, but I want to switch gears for those of you who don't really know you. How long have you been stateside? I know you kind of came over quite a while ago at this point, but...
What years are now? 23, since 2010.
2010.
Came over, We're getting old.
Came over as a player? I know.
Yeah, through the college system. Myself and Conor Hurley came over. We were originally probably supposed to go to Memphis, University of Memphis. Wasn't NCAA eligible. We knew nothing about that in Ireland. Having played in League of Ireland, then we went NAIA. That school got bought out by University of Memphis, then went D2 NCAA, and met Hoagie. Hoagie coached there, tore my hamstring, so I had to sit that year. Next year, captained. Then NCAA, my best friend came back again and said, you know, more years of eligibility. Went to West Palm Beach where Hannah was. Eligibility centre there got in the way that year, but then captained the last year, the senior year. And we did fairly well, but literally went from the December to January from player to coach. Now you're coaching your teammates. It was very, very difficult. Yeah. It really was.
What was that transition like?
Nightmare. Yeah. Personally, professionally it was great. Got to learn so much. But I had to move out of the apartment. I was with my mates. You know, luckily I got to move with my Hannah though. But it was a nightmare because you're having to be a coach and not a mate anymore.
Did you always know that you were going into coaching, or?
Well, no, it wasn't planned. But my dad's a coach. My grandfather was a pro in Ireland. My dad was a pro in Ireland, but it was just something that kind of came natural. As a captain, honestly, in that last year as a captain, there was 3 to 4 of us that were very vocal in that year. It was Northwood at the time. It's Kaiser now, and they just reached a couple of years ago won the nationals. There were 3 or 4 of us that were very vocal, and in game you're coaching without knowing you're coaching, you know. And then it just kind of got offered it and said, yeah, it was either go Rochester Rhinos at the time to continue playing, or was get a Masters paid for. So I went with that, and I'll be honest, I was in bits with injuries because of this. I was in bits with injuries, so it was the best choice. I'm glad I took it, put it that way. But that first year was a nightmare.
What is the thing outside of family and friends, because that's an easy one. Outside of family and friends, what's the biggest thing you miss about back home in Ireland?
Family and friends are tied into it, but the occasions. I've missed a lot of occasions out here. Same with anyone who comes out here, so it's not just me, but you're missing, you're missing christenings, you're missing birthday parties, you're missing weddings, and honestly in Ireland sometimes you're missing a very good funeral. Some of the funerals are brilliant. It's just crazy. I know people don't understand that, but that's a big piece you miss, because when you go home then people are talking about it, and you almost, the longer you stay out here and you can't go back, you know, whether it's you're going through visa process or whatever, you feel a little bit disconnected, and you miss that too, you know. And then the field, I always miss the field.
I thought you were gonna go like hurling or something.
No, I played soccer. I played football. I didn't play that, and they used to tell us we were playing the foreign sport. I didn't play hurling, or didn't played a little bit of Gaelic football at the very start, but no, it was a bit too rough for us.
So if you hadn't have gone the path of football and soccer, what do you think you would have been doing? Nothing?
I'd be in jail. Honestly, like, if football's given me everything. Really has. I was an awful idiot when we were young, and football got me out of so much trouble. Thank God my parents got me out of so much trouble. Football, I don't know. I'd be a waster. I really would. It wouldn't be good and it wouldn't be positive. It's literally giving me everything, including this conversation right now. It's giving me everything. My missus, our house, our dog, it's giving us everything. So I'm forever grateful. And I understand the power of the sport too. We say to the academy kids now, you don't understand how much that can change your life for the better. But you have to give it everything. You really do. It's not just on a postcard. You actually have to empty everything out into it to get something back. So
I know you kind of touched on your dad, and it's kind of in your bloodline, right? Your dad and your grandfather. Yeah. I saw your grandfather represented Ireland in the 50s.
He did.
And he scored a goal in, I think it was 56.
Germany.
Against Germany?
That was his one single senior cap. But he played a lot of it would have been B internationals at the time, and played for that famous Shamrock Rovers team. So unless someone can prove it wrong, here's what I've been told. Here's the story I've been told. He's the very first League of Ireland player to score in the Champions League. And it was against Man U, the old European Cup. It was against Man U in Old Trafford.
And now you're a Man U fan?
Yes, I'm watching this game right now to my heartbreak, but yeah. And he hated Man U. He was brilliant. I love my granddad, loved him. He was a great inspiration for us, you know, and definitely he was a great inspiration for my dad, and then my dad was my hero. Do you know what I mean? Yep. But yeah, he was a messer too. My granddad. He'd sit in the corner and he'd store a lot of shit. Am I allowed to say shit? Yeah. Store a lot of shit, and he'd back away and watch it all unfold. So he was up to mischief, like. He was brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. And
I take it you didn't get any of the musical talents that your brother has, or?
I wish. That's a big regret. They're brilliant, honestly. The wedding in Sweden was the big one. So Swedes are very reserved. We had it in Malmo. Yeah. So Swedes are very reserved. The night before the wedding, there was a live band on, but it wasn't anything to do with us. We had kind of the room next to it. Everyone has their dinner or whatever. My family, they're just lunatics. They're full entertainers. So my auntie, my mother's sister, she gets up and just starts dancing. Not a drink in her. She starts dancing. The live band's on, just starts dancing. And the Swedes are kind of like, we don't do this here. We need at least 4 or 5 pints to get going. But it was infectious. She made everyone go, and then everyone was singing. So then we had the wedding, and that was great crack. Then the Sunday, there was an Irish pub, tactically placed right by the hotel where I put everyone. Smart. An Irish pub, but my brother brought the guitar. They were supposed to close at 8, and the barman left it open till 2 in the morning because he was bringing people in off the road just from playing. Honestly, but we grew up on that. Right. New Year's, confirmations, Christmas. My uncle John, he was. You should hear him. That's where Stephen learned, my brother. They're all self-taught. You know, they're all self-taught. Yep. They didn't go for. Well, Stephen went for lessons early on, but kind of like, this doesn't work for me. I'm not learning this way. And then my uncle, and they all learned by listening to the old. What you call it? I'm gonna get killed for this. With the record player.
Oh, vinyl.
The vinyl.
Yep.
And like the ear next to it, and he'd replay it, and he'd drive my grandmother demented because he's replaying it. But then he'd get his notes off that, and that's how they learned. There's a lot of talent, but it's impressive talent. Yep. It's not just because they're my family. Right. To actually sit there, I've had other people we bring in to take a look at them, they're like, oh wow, that's something different. Yep. So I've a family full of head cases on both sides. It's great.
Shifting gears back to kind of your coaching, obviously you started off and then you had met Hoagie.
As a player, yeah.
And then you got involved with the Philadelphia organization. And was that when you won the back-to-back Coach of the Year in League Two, or was that after that?
Yeah, that was after Hoagie had gotten promoted more so up with Steele. So it was 16, Hoagie took over Reading as a head coach, so I went in as his assistant 16, 17. And then he stepped up and I took 18 and 19. And we had some very successful years there. We would have had another one had COVID not hit, to be honest. There was a very, very good group coming in. And 15 of that group that we had recruited for that year got drafted. and there would have been 2 or 3 more that are now in the Premier League, to be honest, that have gotten there. So, and then but they were good. There were a lot of pros came out of those years. A lot of pros.
Yeah. What are those kind of years in Reading, which from Pennsylvania, not much to do in Reading. What do those years kind of teach you and kind of mold you into the coach that you are now?
Reading was a perfect fit because it's not Las Vegas. That we saw that as a strength. Players had to grind and they had to work, and there wasn't many distractions.
Well, that's an old steel city too, so it's.
It was about a 2-hour drive, an hour and a half, depending on the traffic, to the Union, and we would have the lads go up. So the good lesson for us was if they were doing really well at our level, we'll test them up now with Bethlehem Steel. And when you've chamber shouting in your face as a player, you'll kick into gear very, very quickly. But if they could handle that, well, okay, now they can do stuff at that next level. And especially when we were getting them, some lads are 16, 17, 18, 19. We got some at the 22 level, age group. But that town honestly taught you if you can graft, if you can commit, if you can be dedicated for, it was 3 months at a time because USL 2. But a lot of avenues could open up, and I think, well, hopefully for the players, I taught them that too. We were very much a staff of you need to work for it. There was no kind of, well, your name will get you in the team. It really wouldn't. We kicked people out. There was one lad I flew in one day. It was a Monday session, and I flew him out the Monday evening. It was awful. But we were very honest. And if you were able and willing to accept that and take things on board and learn, then that was reciprocated. So for me, I saw the value in how people respond to that. You know, and a lot of people can do a lot of things when they're trusted. Now, trust has to be earned. But they're the biggest lessons, I think, that help us now moving into this. There's been a big eye-opener because there's a lot of similarities to what we saw then to what we're seeing now. And it's dying out a little bit. It actually is dying out a little bit. That's why Reading was great. The people are amazing. They gave us everything. They gave us everything, and we still talk to Candace, we still talk to Jeff, still talk to Art, Troy, the 2 owners at the time. There's a new owner now. But I have a couple of friends now that are young coaches, and I sent one of them there this summer to go and learn and be an assistant. He did a great job. He's at FAU right now. So please God, down the line we can come sniffing for him here. Yeah. But it's great. It's a great place to be. It really is.
And obviously, Hoagie kind of holds a special place for you. Just he was your coach, transitioned you into the coaching side of things as well, or helped with that. How awesome is it seeing him getting this opportunity at the championship level to be the head man? Yeah, and it's taken very long, you know, for him. I know in his eyes it's very long, and for me, I think he should have got an opportunity somewhere elsewhere. But life doesn't work that way. But he was the first coach. For me as a player in the US anyway, he was the first coach that kicked me in the arse and told me no. And sometimes you need a snap of reality. Now, he's done that with a few people this year and it's been great. But for him and for Eric and for Theo, it's even better. And then his man, his dad, when they came over too. Some of those moments, there's no money value on any of those moments, especially the July 4th night. The fireworks are going off, they're all together. That's a very proud moment for them as a family. But for him, I know professionally, he's going to want more. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it. Yep. Seriously. Even though it's been a challenging year, that's a testament to the man. Right. You know, I'm not here kissing anybody's ass. That's the reality of it. He's mentally strong enough to be getting through the adversity. So it's a good testament the first year. It's been a very, very difficult year, but sometimes that's the best thing that can happen to you. A big project for you this year has been the Switchbacks Pride Academy team. How important is it to you personally and also just for the growth of the club to get something like this going? And I know you've been putting in a lot of hard work to get that thing off the ground. So yeah, I guess 2-part question. What does it mean to you personally to see it finally coming true? And then what do you think it does for the club going forward? Personally and for the club, it's both mixed together, to be honest. As I said to you, football has given me everything. And I couldn't believe that there was no direct. Why are players from Pueblo and Springs going to Denver for opportunities? It doesn't make sense to me.
That's not how it should be. Especially when there's a good soccer community here in town. So personally, it's how many kids now can you help open that opportunity to, both on the boys and the girls side. But then for the club, professional, it just makes total sense as where we are realistically as a club. You know, we're not the highest budget club in the league, nor do we have to be. And in order to function and create this pipeline, you know, Hoagie and Bren were a big part of Philly as well. And look at what that pipeline's producing now. Now, am I saying it'll ever reach that level? Probably not. But the young players this year, the academy players have come up for trumps this year. But we didn't have direct access to that. So when Hoagie needs a player for Saturday or he needs numbers for training, academy, it's got to be. Because now what we did at Reading was, I told you, we'd bring them up to the pros. Well, can they cut their teeth up there? Can they do okay? We brought 3 or 4 academy kids in this year. Some of them have done really well, surprisingly. Now they can go back to their level that they're currently at and go have a bit of confidence and maybe grow a little bit more, then bring them back. So you're developing a pipeline through. And let's face it, they're not costing you $90,000. They're not costing you $100,000. It's the time and the effort. So it's linked, honestly, they're both linked together. I couldn't believe it wasn't here in place. It still baffles me today. And it does take a lot of work, but it's not rocket science. But then personally, you can sit back and go, okay, well, I've at least, if we were to die tomorrow, at least I've left the place better than what I got it. Because you've now opened opportunities to there's thousands of kids in that club. But there's also thousands of kids in Pueblo, and then the next one is, right, well, Denver. How many players can we bring back that we lost at Denver? Just create more opportunities. What's wrong with that, you know?
Well, I mean, it's obviously, you see the Marcos, the Dylans. Marcos scored 2 goals now professionally, and you know, has a promising future.
And he got the penalty at the game here versus OC as well.
Yeah.
So the talent's here. It is here.
Yep.
It hasn't been used the correct way yet, let's just say.
You kind of touched on Wheels getting involved on this side, and I know he made his kind of coaching debut a couple weeks ago. What is it like having him in the locker room full-time this year, and kind of knowing the transition and the path for him kind of coming into your guys' coaching kind of group and ranks? Yeah,
he helped steady the ship 9 times out of 10 in there, because he's always a voice of reason. And players will listen to players. You know, they're just going to listen more than they'll listen to a coach. He's a great reference for us as well to help guide the group in whatever way we need. You know, we may think it's one thing, but because he has insight from the dressing room, he's able to give us exactly what it is. Okay, so now how can we really help? Whether that's a football issue, whether that's a life issue, whatever. I feel sorry for him because his body's starting to really break. It really is, but he does not give up. I think it's a great lesson for them all. They know he's in agony when he has to sprint. I mean, I've seen him sprinting past Mitch Tainter, and I know every single joint was destroyed after that sprint, but he still did it again, and he did it again, and he was up fighting. You know, and the last few games he's come on, he's had a real impact, whereas he was probably frustrated at the start because he didn't feel like he could get going. But the interesting part was he was training more at the start of the year and more frustrated with his performances. Now we're managing his training load and he's able to have more of an effect on the weekend. But, you know, we don't get the penalty without him here at home. We just don't. He was huge for the San Antonio game, and he was, even though it's a very short time he comes on against Orange County there, he was massive. He is what he is, and he's a great character, but he's also a great lesson for young kids too, because he's never going to back down, no matter what's happening. You know, you literally have never seen him give up. Whether he's on the field for 20 minutes, 5 minutes, or 45. But if he's on the pitch for 45, call the funeral home the next day, because he's going to be needing a coffin. Yep. But he's also acceptant of that now, that training schedule, and it works for him. But that's all he says. As long as I can give you everything on the weekend, just tell me what I need to do. So speaking of the weekend, we have a massive match this weekend. Sacramento, obviously the best in the league. Talk to me about this
last stretch, obviously a massive result against Orange County, who was just completely on fire since we beat them, basically. Yeah. So I guess, what does this kind of defining stretch look like, and just how difficult is it? But how excited are you to try and, I guess, answer the call?
Yeah, well, the final stretch is all or nothing. It really is. You're either going to make playoffs or you're not. You've seen the way this division's going as well. If you pick up a run of results, and results can include a draw, depending on the team, you know. I think the San Antonio result, although we were frustrated at the end.
Big point.
Yeah, it is. But you feel in game you could have actually got something more, but then you're able to build on it. The Orange County 3 points is amazing. So if you can keep grabbing those, and then we've got some key games then against opponents close around us, you have to win them, you just have to. But you've seen how it can move. In 1 week you could be 8th, and the next week you could be 4th. You just never know what the other results are going to happen. So the only thing we can focus on is us. It literally is, and then it's opponent by each game coming in. It's opponent by opponent that we'll prepare for. But this is a test, absolutely. I always do believe the game there versus here is different, and it has been nearly every year.
I feel like we've split, same goals, same everything, home and away.
It's different, but they are rocking and rolling right now, and they've got some very, very good talents, but we've got good talent. Now it's, can we show the fight of the last 2 games? And if we can show that fight, we're at least putting our hat in the ring, you know? We really are, and that's what I said to you at the very start. This team can surprise anybody. So hopefully everyone's fit, healthy, which they are right now, going into Saturday. And if we take care of the bits we feel we can execute, they're in for the game, you know? And hopefully we can grab something to give the crowd a bit of a cheer too. But that's this game coming up now, it's huge. And then that stretch after, it's all or nothing.
Yeah. 3 games in 8 days, 7 days, or whatever it is.
That's this league though, it's a gauntlet, it is. But honestly, it felt like yesterday was January. Here we are, nearly October. So it's gone very quick, but while you're in it, doesn't feel that quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of the talent, I know you guys were very high on Tyreek before you signed him and brought him into the club. He's obviously had some great goals, some great performances the last month or so. How good is it to see it actually starting to come through? And then it seems like all he's doing is scoring bangers from outside of the box too. Yeah. So
if he can keep doing that, yeah, we'll be very, very happy. But he's actually a great lad. He had a very frustrating time in Belgium, you know, but he's got, Speedy's almost like his mentor and puts his arm around him, but he also holds him accountable, and I think it's very, very important that Speedy's in our dressing room to help Tyreek. Tyreek's very young and he still has to learn a lot of maturing lessons. He has to learn to earn things because he's got the talent. He literally could be better than this league every single week in terms of talent. Now it's okay, can you do the horrible things that this league teaches you that you have to do? You know, track back 40 yards, put your body on the line. That's still unproven. But what he has proven is he's got an eye for a goal. He's got a wand of a left foot, and he's got magic in him. So if you can add both of them together, well then realistically we're not going to hold on to him for very, very long, because the national team will come calling for the World Cup, and big clubs will come calling for him, and rightfully so. So hopefully we can help. Hopefully he can help us along the way and show a bit more magic in crucial points, especially touch wood, get to the playoffs. But he's got a bright future if it can all click. Some of the things he does in training amazes everybody. Not just players, not just that, everybody. Yeah. But then other times he'll frustrate you. And that's the balance we have to get right. But he's moving in the correct direction to be an absolute gamer, because it's not enough just having talent. Yeah. It's not enough just having hard work. you need both.
Yep. A good example of that is someone that I'm very excited to see back in black and blue. Isaiah Foster coming back, one of our own.
Yeah.
He signed his first pro contract here. He got it all started here. He went and has been with Cincinnati. Are you excited to have him back, and what does he look like, and how much do you think he's improved, or I guess learned from his time in Cincinnati this year?
He talked about that, about how much learning. You know, he's getting to speak to MLS All-Stars. He's getting to speak Pat Noonan, unbelievable mind of the game, and their whole staff really are very, very good. But from the players and the staff, he said, I was just a sponge all year, just a sponge.
Getting to know it, that's the type of person. He's a good kid, smart kid. He puts his head down and he can work.
Yes,
right?
and he'll put himself on the line. You know, if it's a last-ditch tackle, or if he has to run the 40 yards. And athletically, honestly, today was probably his best day since he's come back in training. He was very, very good today. But yeah, we're hoping to get him rocking and rolling very, very quickly, because it can be a different step. MLS Next Pro depends. It just depends on week to week what the fixtures are. But this league, you know, it'll hit you in the face immediately. But he has experience with that and in playoffs. So to get him back in the building is excellent. So he's also added to the dressing room. You know, he's a very, very good character, and he'll work. That's what, the more characters we can get in the dressing room to have that approach, will be the better for it.
Final thing, if you had any message for the fans to help with this final playoff push, because every game matters. It could come down to that Phoenix game on October 14th. What, I guess, message for the fans, and what do we need out of them these last few home games?
Yeah, anyone who comes into our house make their life a living hell, honestly. I know the lads on right by us with the paddy hats. They make the referees' lives, but yeah, make the players' lives a nightmare, the coaches' lives a nightmare, and just make it difficult for everybody when they come into our house. You wouldn't let someone walk into your house and rob your TV, would you? So don't let them come into our house and rob anything. And then whatever these players need, you know, just support them till the end, because there will be tough moments, but that's when they need you the most. And also thank you for the support so far this year. It's been amazing.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up this month's episode of Pub Talk here at Jack Quinn's. Thank you as always, Jack Quinn's, for hosting us, and make sure you come down and grab a pint yourselves. But I think that's going to do it for us, Al. Thank you as always.
Cheers, Axel.
Cheers,
Tommy.
Cheers, guys.